Coach, what are you seeing from BYU's offense?
Explosive, very explosive. They've got guys all over the place that can make plays. They got a quarterback that's one of the top guys in the country. Throws a great deep ball, can scramble and use his feet to make plays. Has a great command of what they're doing offensively. Receiving core is dynamic. Guys that can run, and they do a really good job of making plays on the football and the ball's in the air. Tight ends are solid. I mean, they're just really good, well-coached team that can be very explosive, put a lot of points on the board.
Are they one of those teams, the classic teams, where the record and kind of the 4-game losing streak, may not line up with the talent level?
100%. And you look at their season as far as the schedule is concerned, and they've got a grueling schedule. And they're going all over the place, and they're playing some really good teams, really good competition, and they're competing in those games. And so we know who we have coming into the stadium and the challenge that is in front of us.
How is Hall different this year without Algier? I mean, it seems like it would be more of a Hall-driven team than it would have been last year.
And it is, and that's the thing with him that he does a really good job of is he knows when it's his time to take over a game and what he has to do in order for their offense to be successful, whether that's throwing the deep ball, whether that's maintaining the run game the way they can, whether it's making the plays with his feet when the opportunity presents itself. I think he does a really good job of staying within the system, but when it calls for him to make more plays outside of it, he has the ability to do that. So I've got the utmost respect for what he's able to do as far as running the show.
From a passing attack standpoint, I mean, the numbers obviously say you guys are right there, but some detractors would say you haven't played a ton of great passing offenses. How do you look at? I'm sure you think you guys can be better. I mean, how do you guys look at what you've done against the passes here?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about, all right, what's next? Next play mentality for us, and we don't worry about statistics or anything along those lines. What we worry about is how can we grow each and every week, each and every game. What are the areas that we need to continue to grow in? And there's plenty that we can grow in from the back end. As far as just from a technique standpoint, small little details within our coverages, whether it's a pre-snap disguise, whether it's post-snap, how we're getting to certain things. And so there's always areas that we can grow in. But I'm very proud of this group, very proud of what our guys have accomplished up to this point. And at the end of the day, we're all about how did we get the win? And that's what this group, this secondary is all about, is did we do what we needed to do in order for our team to be successful? And if we can continue to do that, if we continue to be successful in order for our team to be successful, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
When you got here and met Shola Depot, what were your initial impressions of him on and off the field?
Yeah, off the field, just a big old smile, a kid that loves just being around his teammates, being here, loves football, loves to compete. On the field, a guy was very explosive, a guy that has a quick twitch and very versatile, can do a lot of different things. But was relatively new to a certain extent to the safety position, and so there was a lot of things that he needed to grow and to learn and develop. And it's been awesome to see that development over the course of these last couple of years and to see where he's at now in comparison to when we first started together way back in the spring of 21.
What are some of those areas where he needed to grow?
Just just football IQ in general, just understanding of our defense, just the knowledge of what he needed to do within our scheme in order for us to be successful. He's grown tremendously in that regard. Well, now not only does he know one position, but he's knows multiple positions. He has a good grasp as far as our entire scheme, and that's, so far ahead of where he was. And then just from the technique standpoint, he's grown a lot in that regard as far as just his coverage ability, just some of the coverage or zone drops that he needs to be aware of, whether he's at the safety or the nickel position. So he's grown in a number of areas that has really helped him develop and become the player that he is today. And there's still so much growth that he can continue to do. And that's what's fun about it. That's what is exciting about it, is that, man, he's just begun to start to fulfill what the potential he has.
And he showed right away that he's a ball hawk. I think he had 2 interceptions in his first game.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Sometimes guys just have natural instincts and have the ability to diagnose a play as it goes and to have a good feel for just being in the right spot. And Shay's been that kind of guy. And now you add on top of that his ability to know where he's supposed to be going all the time based on his assignment, based on what his key's telling him, throwing the technique on top of that, and he's going to be a dynamic player for us for a long time.
J.L. Skinner, it feels like he's not having the splash plays or the sensational Sports Center highlights that he had last year. That doesn't mean he's not having a better year this year. How would you assess the season JL's having for you guys?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, is JL doing his job? And that's all that he cares about is he does his job. And to your point, Maybe not all the plays are coming his way the way we would want him to, or the way I know he wants them to all the time. He wants to be in on every single play. But as long as he's doing his job, that's all we can ask. And as long as 11 guys on the field are doing their job, then defensively we're going to be successful. And if we have success defensively, in turn our team has success. And that's what JL is all about. It's just that team success and him doing his job each and every play. And eventually, as I told him, hey, just be patient. Just be patient, because as plays continue, as games continue, as we get going in the latter part of the season, you keep doing your job, eventually the plays are going to come your way, and you will make some of those splash plays when we need them.
Rodney Robinson was a young guy who kind of was getting his first taste of the starting action. Where's he grown the most the last, I guess, 7-8 weeks? Yeah,
I think just the communication, taking control of the defense from the back end. Obviously, when we moved T. Jones up to the nickel spot, that field safety position was a spot where we needed a guy to step into that role that T had as far as just running the show back there as a quarterback. And I think Rodney's grown and taken a lot of steps in the right direction in that regard. And similar to what I was just saying as far as JL and really all of these guys across the board is do your job every single play. And Rodney's really done a really good job of just being efficient and doing his job, and when the plays came his way, he's been able to make them.
Back to the pass defense for a second. You've had a couple, obviously, big plays through the passing game. There's been a couple of games where like half the total yards the team got on you were on one passing play. I mean, what is that? I guess something you guys are working on, trying to limit the rare explosive play.
Yeah, of course. Every single week, our goal, our objective as a back end, as a defense, is to eliminate explosive plays and to not allow those things to happen. And when they do, obviously the first place you look is to the back end, because we're the back end and we're supposed to eliminate anything, whether it's a run game, whether it's a pass play trying to go over the top. That's our job, is to make sure those explosive plays don't go anywhere further than whatever it may be. So when those plays happen, we're going to look innermost and figure out, okay, what needs to get done in order for these not to happen. And at the end of the day, though, hey, these are learning lessons for all of us that we can grow. Whether it's a schematic thing that we need to fix to make sure that doesn't happen, maybe it's a technique thing. There's all little things that we can learn and grow from. So as the weeks continue and these big games keep continuing to grow, and we play against these offenses that are explosive, we've learned those lessons early, and now we can apply those lessons going forward.
Looking at the defense as a whole, we played 8 games, which is 2/3 of the season. What do you think has been the best attribute of the defense through 8, and what would be the attribute you'd want to improve the most in the next 4?
Yeah, our pursuit to the football. You watch our guys run to the ball, you turn that film on, and you see what potentially could be an explosive play, and all of a sudden 5-6 guys show up and that ball is knocked down. It's impressive. It's impressive. I've not been around a defense that runs the football the way this defense does, and the way they take pride in it, the way they take pride in having each other's back every single play. It's awesome. It's awesome to be a part of. And so if we continue to grow in that area and to never take that for granted and to continue to run the ball, we're going to continue to have success. An area that I feel like we can continue to grow is we got to get the ball back. We got to get our offense the ball some way, shape, or form, and get those guys rolling. And so we've got to create some takeaways, and we've got to create some explosives on our end as well. And it's never a bad thing when your defense puts the ball in the end zone as well.
Why do you think Spencer Danielson's going to be a good head coach? What qualities does he have?
Spencer does a really good job of knowing what his personnel, the strengths of his personnel, connecting with his personnel, and whether that's from a team standpoint, the players, or whether that's his coaches, and does a great job of just allowing, hey, coaches coach, players play, everyone does their job, and in the end, the product or the result's going to be what we all want. And I think Spencer does a really good job of just finding ways to connect with everybody within the organization, within his team, and in turn, he gets the best out of both his players and his coaches.
You guys are the best pass defense in the country, and as Johnny mentioned, you're doing it without JL racking up crazy highlights. What does that say about the future of the secondary?
You know, the thing that coming into this was we always knew what we had with JL and T. Jones and Caleb Biggers and some of these guys that had shown the ability to be a consistent player and a playmaker. But it's the guys like Rodney and Shola and Tyreek Buff and some of these other guys that have stepped up in those roles. Noe's having a really good year at the other corner spot. So guys that have been in the shadows to a certain extent that have had to emerge and make plays have done a really good job. And you see that over the course of this season, that guys have had to step up in multiple ways. Zion getting in there last week in the second half. I mean, so This is all learning things and experience that is only going to make these guys better, and it's only going to build their confidence. So as we continue to grow and we continue to get in these late games that are just going to matter more and more, guess what? We got even more guys that can step up in those situations or in those arenas.
Kane is, J.O. put up some monster numbers last year. Is he better this year than he was last year, despite the fact maybe he's not being required to make 10, 12 tackles a game?
Yeah, I think that's always being a part of a really good defense. Sometimes the play isn't going to always be available to you because guys are doing their job, you're doing your job, and not all the plays end up coming your way. And so you've just got to be satisfied in the fact that I'm doing my job, and our team in the end is getting the results we want. And JL is all about that. He's all about just doing my job and making sure that I'm doing my 1/11th for our defense, and in the end, our defense is doing what we need to do to get our team that win at the end of the day.
You mentioned a goal to create more turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Your defense is also like one of the best in the country at getting off the field. Do you feel like there are missed opportunities? Because there are definitely less opportunities, it feels like.
Yeah. And you're 100% right as far as possessions are concerned. And our goal at the end of the day is get the ball to our offense one way, shape, or form. And that's what we're all about. And whether it's just getting off the field on third downs, which we've done a pretty good job of, or if it is somehow creating those takeaways to get the ball back, that's what we want to do. And if there's a way that we can continue to improve, which I think takeaways we still can, we're going to still try and find and emphasize that as much as we can over the course of the next however many weeks. So maybe we do start to create some extra field position for our offense, some short fields for our offense. So in turn, now we'll just get that momentum rolling a little bit more.
You lost Tyreek from safety, and you guys bumped him down to nickel. I think we all thought that was going to be a great fit. How good of a fit has that been?
It's been really good, man. He's done a tremendous job as far as just however many steps closer to the line of scrimmage, the action happens that much faster. And it's a little bit more physical down there. You're running into some big old tight ends and some tackles that are trying to do some bad things to you. And he's handled himself really well and has done a great job as far as the run support. Has always been really good as far as his understanding of where he needs to be in our zone drops, and obviously when he has to play man-to-man on those slot receivers as well. So we've had a really good experience moving T. Jones to nickel, and it's provided other guys to in turn have to step up at those safety positions.
The deep play that they scored on, it looked like you guys are in a two deep. Like Rodney came down to take whatever mid route that was. Is that what you want? Because in doing that, he left Tyreek on that island, on that slant.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the scheme there? It felt like if he would have stayed back, Colorado State doesn't take that shot.
Yeah, and that just comes down to, again, certain coverages call for certain things. And when offenses find the issues within those coverages, which Colorado State in that regard found the issue within that coverage, it was a really good play call versus what we were doing schematically speaking. Granted, if we do play that a little bit softer, maybe they don't take that shot, but at the same time, we weren't thinking playing it soft in that regard. And so Rodney was doing his job and do what he had to do. Now we can potentially gain somebody else to maybe potentially close the middle and help. But that's all little schematics that at the end of the day, like we talked about before, these are learning things that our guys now can push forward and go, all right, well, we know if we're in this defensive call, this is the issue potentially that we're facing. And if an offense finds it, here's how we can still defend those issue routes based on just certain little techniques or eye progression that'll help us eliminate those big-time explosive plays.
There's a touchdown on every play. You just got to find it.
You got to
right?
find it,
Yeah,
no
totally.
question about it.